And welcome back to Crosstalk. I'll tell you what, I don't know if I feel like eating lunch after discussing a topic like this. It really shakes you to the core. And we're talking today with Thomas Horn. He's talking about the future of man and what's going on in the science world where subhumans or half-humans are being experimented. And if I got what you said earlier, Tom, you actually believe that some of these half-creatures are alive now.
Well, certainly I do. That's what I believe, and I believe it based partly on information that is contained, and I'm not trying to pitch a book here, but I am saying I'm passionate about this issue, and we've done for about 12 years of research, over 7,000 pages of research that we had to then, of course, try to compress down into a book of 300 pages, but I went from being a quasi-skeptic to becoming a believer, to learning about the sciences, and then to meeting with molecular biologists and other people doing research in this field. And I have been led to believe that certainly, just like the scientists out of the UK said, that they know that this is happening in other laboratories. And the insinuation to keep themselves from being arrested, they're only hinting at it. But the insinuation was that they more than are suspicious of the fact that they, in fact, have some kind of information that this is happening right now.
We're going to go right now to Laird in Waukesha. Laird, you're on the air with our guest.
I'm just making a comment. Hollywood was into this about 10, 15 years ago. I remember seeing a blurb or something called Dr. Moreau's Island, and it's exactly what you're talking about.
It's scary stuff, Laird, but it's happening. Appreciate your call.
Thank you.
Let's move right along here. We're going to go to Williams Bay and talk to Brad. Brad, you're on the air.
Hi, Tom. I'm thrilled to talk to you. I was introduced to you through J.R. Church's website, Prophecy in the News, and I've been following you ever since. The question that I have, Tom, is do you believe that the dinosaurs that are mentioned, that we know exist, are they a result of the Nephilim and the genetic tempering?
Well, you know what's interesting, Brad, and by the way, thank you for your kind remarks. It's great to meet you, too. In fact, I'm going back down this next week to do 2 more shows with Gary Stearman, help fill in for JR while he's battling with cancer. But Gary Stearman actually has some fascinating theory around that about how Lucifer was one of the watchers, and he was the one who was to watch over the reptilian kingdom. And when he rebelled against God, he fell to the earth, and that this is why you see all over the earth the destruction of the reptilian kingdom, the dinosaurs, if you will, but that's actual geological evidence of this great prehistorical war that occurred between Lucifer and God. So he has this wonderful, fantastic theory around all of that. But I do think that, sometimes they dig up bones. They don't know where they're coming from. They look at proto-men and these various creatures that they dig up. They're very strange, and they think that it's maybe filling the gap in the evolutionary chain between this creature and another creature, and who's to say that these are not simply experiments in DNA? One of the other things that we should also point out is that even the transhumanists believe that there is a supernatural angle to this, and this is another whole show to do some of the time, maybe, Vic, but the transhumanists themselves believe that by combining us with animals and other synthetic organisms that we might open a gateway to what most humans think of as the spirit world. There are leading transhumanists who believe that this is true. Not only leading transhumanists, but even Arizona State University, which has been hosting a whole series of lectures on transhumanism and religion just this last year as a result of some of the dialogue going on there. This is being funded by the Templeton Foundation at ASU. Questions that were being raised by some of the lecture givers and then some of the students who wanted to talk about what might the supernatural aspects of combining ourselves with animals might be. They picked up some information that I had done, an 8-hour series that I had done on this, where I was talking about how some animals, we believe, may be able to see into what people think of as the spirit world. There's even a biblical text for this, the Balaam's donkey. Balaam can see the angel standing in the middle of the road. Balaam can't. There could be be evidence here that animals may be able to see in the spirit world. And I had raised the question that by combining ourselves with animals, there could be a spirit that's operating behind this, that's trying to cross over into our reality, that was closed off by God during the fall of man or at some point in the distant past. And in any case, the transhumanist community has picked up on this. Professor Nick Bostrom is actually openly talking about it now, combining ourselves with animals to open new modes of perception. Well, anyway, last year, Arizona State University, as a result of this, launched a brand new project called the Sophia Project, named after the Greek goddess of wisdom. And you can go to ASU's website, click on the Sophia Project to see this for yourself. And here's what it says. It says that they want to study, they want to qualify, and if possible, make contact with this other dimensional reality. And then they name it: angels, demons, extraterrestrials.
Boy, they're playing with fire, Tom. The record in God's Word. We're talking about combining with animals. There was the maniac of Gadara when this Satan spirit entered in and combined with his body. He became an animal and cut himself with stones and cried and lived among the dead. Folks, is there any flaw here in the thinking that what you're seeing? Thank you very much, caller. We're going to right now go to Port Huron, Michigan, talking to Harry. Harry, you're on line with Tom.
Well, thank you for this topic, Vic, and thanks for bringing it to our attention. Tom, a comment and a question. While I agree with you on the transhuman thing, that's completely just terrible. As far as AI or artificial intelligence, I don't think we should throw it all out. And I don't think you were saying that, but I think we need a balance.
What are you saying, Harry? Artificial intelligence. Define it for those who don't understand.
You betcha. It's where people can, or where people talk with computers talking with people. It has helped a lot of disabled people that I know to regulate temperature in their homes, to run their computer with no hands.
Well, Harry, you're disabled as well, so yes, from that perspective, I understand.
And by the way, Harry, thank you for bringing that up, because one of the things that I always try to define for individuals is I'm certainly not a Luddite. I'm not, against progress, and I have no problems whatsoever with advances in technology, including biotechnology, where we may, for instance, learn how to turn off cancerous cells. We could save our very dear friend J.R. Church right now if we could figure out how to turn off cancerous cells without, doing what we're doing now. We're using radiation treatments, and I know that in the near future, if the Lord tarry, we're going to look back at some of the treatments we're using now as like the caveman era, basically beating a cancer with a club, trying to make it stop. My point about all of this is not to be against technology or to encourage anybody else to be against technology. In fact, Christians have always been at the forefront of therapy treatments. If you look at all of the great universities, the hospitals that have been built around the world, this has grown out of a conservative Judeo-Christian worldview in which we believe that in our fallen condition, suffering in some ways can make us stronger, more mature people, but at the same time we also believe in healing, and Jesus healed, and we believe in healing too. My problem with technology only begins to occur when we start talking about changing what it means to be a human. And that's why I focus on transhumanism. If we're talking about robotic assistance to the handicapped or anything like that, I am for it 1,000,000%. Look, I've got diabetes. I take drugs. I got no problem with the fact that every drug that we take is some attempt to stop what is happening in a genetic disorder within our bodies. But when we start combining ourselves with animals, when we start crossing over barriers that God himself put in place, that's where I draw the line.
We're going to go to Colorado Springs and talk with Michael. Michael, you're on the air. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. Go ahead, Michael.
I'll ask a question and then hang up. Do you think it's possible that the beast, as described in Revelation, could actually be a human-created creature?
Thank you for the question, Michael. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, in my last book, Apollyon Rising 2012, that's essentially what the book is about. Is this kind of technology, is it paving the way for the coming of the Antichrist? Could a human non-human? You remember about Jesus? It says in the New Testament, a body thou hast prepared me. So Jesus didn't just come to the earth, but a body was prepared for him to be incarnated within. Well, it stands to reason then that Satan, who is always trying his knockoff attempts at imitating God, and his antichrist, who will be the mirror negative black opposite of everything that Jesus represents, would attempt, of course, if he can, to create some kind of a body into which he could extend himself. What's very interesting about this is these watchers that the Old Testament, the book of Daniel and others refer to, the book of Genesis 6, of course, in the Hebrew refers to the sons of God, who saw the daughters of men and took them wives of all which they would, and out of it was born these gigantic creatures. And if you subscribe to that theology, you look at what they were doing there by combining men with animals. But what was their motivation? According to Peter and John in the New Testament, who quote the pseudepigraphic book, the apocryphal text of First Enoch, what they wanted to do was leave their plane of existence. They wanted to leave their reality. They wanted to extend themselves into our material world. And I think it's interesting in Genesis 6 where it says that the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair. The Greek Septuagint, the Greek interpretation of the Hebrew Old Testament Bible says there, they saw the daughters of men that they were fit extensions. So we're talking, it seems like, about something here in which these creatures wanted to extend themselves into our reality. But they didn't just want to, come down like demons and possess people. They wanted incarnation. They wanted a body, an exotic body that was neither man nor animal, therefore probably soulless, therefore probably something they could extend themselves into. Okay, that gets into a lot of theory, but to answer your question, could the Antichrist, if that theory is solid, could the Antichrist be the same thing? Could he represent the return of the Nephilim upon earth? There again, a fulfillment of Matthew 24:37, an exotic body that has been re-engineered outside of the divine order, something into which the Antichrist could be incarnated.
Paula in Monroe, Wisconsin. Paula, you're on the air.
I just want to say I'm very thankful for BCY covering these controversial topics. I think it's important to bring these disturbing things to light. And then I was hoping that Tom could touch on the potentials of the mark of the beast via genetic mutations or, through the transhumanism, via immunizations, flu shots, that sort of thing.
Tom?
Yeah, I had a little bit of trouble making out what she said, but I think her question was, could this same technology lead to a mark of the beast?
Yes.
And, interesting that she would ask that question because in the research that led to the writing of our last book, Apollyon Rising 2012, my wife came up with a theory. We're actually just driving one day, and she said, what if the mark of the beast is, let's say that...
We're going to pause a moment, come right back to our guest, Tom. Stay with us. We'll be back in 60 seconds.
Hello, I'm Brennan House with the Worldview Weekend Minute and WorldviewWeekend.com. I know I'm not the only one that watched the Glenn Beck rally on 8/28 of 2010 with red flags going up nonstop. The mixture of Glenn's Mormon theology wrapped in Christian terms combined with some of the Christian speakers made me very uncomfortable. The patriotic ecumenicalism, I think, was very unbiblical. The dominion theology of some Christians combined with the kingdom of God theology of Mormons combined with all faiths uniting and wrapped in the flag reveals to me that a one-world religion and a one-world leader will be easily accepted even by people calling themselves Christians. In fact, I believe the 827 and 828 rallies have greatly furthered the acceptance of ecumenicalism even by those who call themselves evangelicals. If you want more information on understanding the dangers of patriotic ecumenicalism and the rise of a one-world religion, our website's WorldviewWeekend.com, WorldviewWeekend.com. You also find out about our free one-night biblical worldview weekend rallies being held all over America.